Hello and welcome back to this course. In this video, we are going to be working with loop control statements. So what are loop control statements? Well, they are just statements or words that you can insert in your for loops and while loops to tell them the conditions that they are going to use to run. Now, there are already conditions at the initialization of the loop, right? But then while the loop is running, there might be some items that you would not want your loop to run on, or that you want that loop to get to a certain point and stop, right? I'm not talking about this condition of when this is less than this or when this condition is met, but then there are other instances where you might have to, okay, you are printing all the numbers that are less than 4, and for whatever reason, when you want it to get to 2, you want it to break, right? So you want the loop to stop, but you have already stated that it should be less than 4, right? So now this is just a basic explanation of what a loop control statement is. And there are 3 major keywords that we are going to be using. So we are going to be using break, we are going to be using continue, and then we are going to be using pass. Now these are 3 keywords that are already inbuilt in Python that can help you to control your loops. Now let's look at these 3 keywords individually. Now the first one says break. So when you are using a break statement, you are simply telling the program to stop at that point. So when this loop is running and it gets to this condition or it gets to this point, please break out of the program. So now for continue statements, you are just telling Python that when this loop is running and then you are running it on this list of items, when it gets to this particular member of this list, jump it. Do not run it on this particular member. Go to the next member. I hope you understand. And then the pass statement is like do nothing entirely. When it gets to this particular condition, don't break it, don't stop it, just don't do anything, right? So break says stop the program, that is break out of the program. Continue says skip this particular value and go to the next one. And then pass says do nothing at all. Now, without further ado, we are just going to hop in and continue with our demonstrations. So the first one we are going to be working with is the break statement. And for that, we are going to create our variable x and we are going to set it to 0. And then we are going to write our while loop. So while x is less than 10, so what do we want to do? We are also going to create another conditional that we are going to check for the value of x at every instance. So we are going to say if x is equals maybe 6, we add our semicolon again, we want to break the iteration. We now tell the while loop to print the value of x and then we increment the value of x. So s plus equals 1. So I'm going to comment out this code from our last video and I'm going to run this. Okay, I think we have another print statement. Okay, so we are going to comment this too. We have another print statement coming from somewhere. So I'm going to clear the terminal and run this again. So clear, and then I'm going to run this again. So we can now see that our while loop has stopped at 5. It's checking for the value of x. And by the time the value of x becomes 6, it breaks the program. So it doesn't print the value of 6. It gets to the value of 5 and then it breaks. Okay, so that is an example of how to use break statements with your while loop. So we can also use break statements with for loops. So we can check out this example and we are going to write our for loop. So we are going to say for letters in, so I'm going to create this string here, programming, and I'll write my semicolon. So I'm going to say if letters is equals a, I'm going to break the code and then I'm going to print letters. So and then I'll save this and run it. So now I'm going to add another print statement here so that to demarcate the output of the 2 loops. So I'm going to print maybe a bunch of stars. So now I'm going to save this and run. So we have this output. So this for loop here prints from the first item until it gets to letter A and it breaks the program. So I'm going to clear this and move on to the continue statement. So now, like we already explained, the continue statement, what it does is that it is going to skip a particular item in the iterable and it is going to move on to the next item and continue the iteration. Okay, So I'm going to write this comment, and then I'm going to write my loops here. So like we did for break statement, we are going to start with while loop. So I'm going to create another variable, and I'm going to call it y. So, and I'll set it to, again, 0. So, and I'm going to write my while loop. So while is less than 10, so I'll add my semicolon. And what do I want to do? I want to increment y. So for continuous statement, I'm going to first of all increment y. And this is because I want the incrementation to come before the checking of the condition. So you increment it so that by the time it gets to a certain number, it will now skip that one before it continues. So I'm going to now increment y. So I'm going to say y plus equals 1, right? And then I'm going to write my if statement. I'm going to say if y is equals 7. So what do I want to do here? I want to continue. And then here I'm going to print the value of y. So I'm going to save. Now I'm going to comment this other code out. So I'm going to run, and here we can see that our program was able to print up onto 6, and then it skipped 7, and then it printed 8 to 10. So that is the use of continue statement. And I'm also going to work with the for loop. So let's see how continue statements is used with for loop. So I can try to access our list of books again. So I'm going to write the for loop. So I'm going to say for book in list of books, if book is equals, what item do we even have there? Let me check. Okay, I can say if book is equals diet guide. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to write my continue statement. So I'm going to write continue, and then I'm going to write my print statement. So I'm going to print book, right? So, and I'm going to also run this. So now we were able to get all the books in that list of book, but it skipped the diet guide. So we can also work with the dictionary. So I'm going to write a for loop for key and value. So it doesn't exactly have to be key and value. So I can say for x and y in books and prices dot item, right? I will say if s equals, so we can copy our diet guide and paste here. What do we want to do? We want to continue, and then we are going to print all the items. So we are going to print x and y, and then we save. Oh, okay, so we have to put our parenthesis here in order to make that object callable. So I'm going to save this again, and then I'll run it. So now our program has printed all the books and their prices, and it skipped the one of diet guide. Okay, so this is a basic example of how you can use break and continue statements in Python. So assuming I change this to continues with to pass, I change the both of them to pass. So and then I'm going to save this and run it. So I'm going to press Ctrl C to break out of this, and I'm going to clear. So now I will run this, and then nothing happens. So pass means do nothing. Just the program will give you whatever a result that it was supposed to give you initially without you using the pass. Assuming I set a variable here, value equals 10, and I say while value is less than or equal to 20, I'll just say pass, and I print value. So I'll print value, and I'm going to comment out the rest of the code, and I'm going to run only that particular one. So okay, so I'm going to comment this on, and I'll clear my terminal, and I'll run this. And as you can see, nothing is happening because the value of value is less than 10, right? So, and as long as the value of value is less than 10, Python does nothing. So now I'm going to break out of this code because this code is running, and I'm going to change this so to greater than or equal to, and I'm going to save this and run. So we can see that while value is greater than 20, so right now value is not greater than 20, right? So nothing is happening on this loop, and the only thing that is happening is that we are printing value on this line. So this value, as this print statement is not for this loop. Had it been indented, it was indented like this, you know it's for this loop. But this print statement is standing alone. So the only thing we are doing on this print statement is that we are printing value. So thank you so much for watching this series. In our next series, we are going to be looking at how to create and use functions in Python. Thank you.